Angie and welcome to Liberty Online. But before we crack on with the message, I just want to mention about the new exciting thing we are running, which is Connect One-to-Ones. But I'll give you more information about that in the outro. So why not sit back, relax, and let's listen to Phil with his part one of the message, Playing It Safe.
We're here this morning and starting this series called Playing It Safe, which seems very appropriate considering the thing last night with Boris on telly. We're going into a second lockdown. If you're watching this in a couple of months' time, then you probably forgot that we've been in and out of that if you're watching it on YouTube or Facebook. But if you're watching this when it goes out on Thursday, I believe, then we should be starting our national lockdown then. So we are talking about the concept of playing it safe. And so thank you for coming out today, guys, who are in the room, and or if you're at home, thanks for joining us online as well, for a brand new series, my first week, and then we go into shutdown. So it's likely that perhaps we can't continue with this series in the hall because probably we're not going to be able to meet as a church in a service format, but we will be doing online content. So whether we finish this series up when we meet back together or whether we do it just online for you guys, it will be finished, but we are starting it off today. So, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready at home? Because I'm going to ease you in today. There's nothing heavy. It's a nice, easy session to ease us in. So, in fact, there's no scripture. Ooh, that's controversial. No scripture. He's not going to read from the big book. No scripture. And so maybe if you're new to church, you're at home and you're not a church person, then you'll think, good, don't like all that Bible nonsense anyway, but no scripture today. That'll be in the next couple of weeks. I want to set out the stall today about this concept of playing it safe. And all we're going to do is just ask a question, but I want to make it clear. I want to make it really clear from the start. I'm not talking about COVID, all right? Again, like with the mask thing, I'm not talking about COVID, the concept of playing it safe. I'm not talking about whether we think or against, for the government's way of dealing with their COVID response, whether it's playing it safe or it's too dangerous. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our lives and the way we operate within our lives. And so today, just to ease us into this concept, I want to ask us a question. Just one question. I'm not even going to give you the answer. I want you to think about it over the next week. And if we pick this up online content, you've got a week to think about it. If not, you might have a month to think about this concept. But I want you to ask yourself this question, is should we play it safe? Should we play it safe? Now, me and Joel, my boy, he's 9 years old, we go running quite a lot of the time. He'll be on his bike. Sometimes he jogs with me. But the last few weeks or months, we've been doing Castle Hill together as well. So he'll come and run up the hill with me. He's now getting quicker than me, which I'm not happy about. But we were doing it just a couple of days ago, just while I was in the middle of prepping this message. And we ran up the hill and we sat on the top because he needs a rest when we get to the top. And so we sat on the step and we turned around. And if you're not from Thetford, Castle Hill's a big mound with some steps that goes up. And it has a view over the park. And there's a nice sort of a kids' play area park there as well. And he said to me, Daddy, do you reckon at some point in the future, maybe when I'm like your age or something, will they change the park? Will it be new? Would you think they'll expand it or something along them lines? And I said to him, probably, because it's the third park that's been there since I've been born that I can remember. There might have been more, but I can remember 3 different lots of parks that have come and gone at Castle Park. And it sent me back sort of reminiscing about that. Because you remember the big slide? Anyone from Thetford, if you've been here a long time, or even if you're not from Thetford, but in your local park in the UK, there would have been the big metal slide, really big, pure metal, nice and slippery when wet. You know them ones, but some of them were massive. They were great fun to throw your brothers and sisters down. And then you had, who remembers the rocking horse? I don't think they have many anymore. And they have a rocking horse that's fixed to the ground and it sort of oscillates, sort of. I don't really know the mechanism in it, but it was great. People getting their heads smashed in, teeth smashed in, great fun. And then you had the roundabouts. That were the proper roundabouts that were like a disc on the floor with the metal crossing, and then you'd play pick-up sticks. There was another name for that game, but we won't call it. But where you drop a stick, you lay on it and drop a stick, and the next person had to pick it up. But you could spin them so fast. If you had like a big guy or 3 or 4 teenagers spinning, people getting thrown off left, right, and centre. I don't know why they took them out. and to be honest, you know, they were far better fun than today's parks. But, I was saying to Joel, I really like them stuff. But he said to me, Dad, so why did they, because he liked the sound of them, because my boy's like that. He was like, why did they get rid of them? And I said to him, well, I think it was for a health and safety point of view, and concerned about people getting hurt on them. And so they took them out and replaced them with more safe things over time. And he said something along the lines, I can't remember exactly, but he said something along the lines of, well, people should be more careful. But then he said, but I guess it's the government's responsibility to keep people safe too. And I'm like, you're 9. It's got this balanced approach of safety, What people should be careful and take responsibility for themselves, but in the same time, it is the council's, or he said government's responsibility to keep people safe. He's like, and you could see he was conflicted. He's like, I'm not sure what I think here. And I knew I was talking about this subject, about safety and playing it safe. And so I asked him this question as we were sat on the top, him still out of breath, I was ready to go. And I asked him this question that I'm going to put up on the screen. Would you rather be safe all the time but bored, or not be safe and have fun? Because he's 9 years old, so I want to pitch it at his level. Would you rather be safe all the time but be bored, or not be safe and have fun? And without blinking and without even me finishing the sentence, he went, the second one. And as you may have worked out, and if you don't know my boy, he leans towards being risk-seeking rather than risk-averse. He leans towards being risk-seeking rather than risk-averse. And in every area of life, not just like of dangerous things, but like we went and done crazy golf over the lockdown period when that opened up. We went as a family. Mummy's trying to beat me for the first time in history, but still didn't manage it again. Just throwing that out there. But Joel, we went to the one in Norwich, and I don't know if you've been to this one, but it has 2 courses on every hole. It has the easy route, which you have to knock and probably get par on most times, or it has a really difficult hole or tunnel or ramp or something. And if you get it up there, you've got a really high chance of getting a hole in one because it filters it down into the hole. And so at every hole, and I mean every hole I think that I can recall, I went the easy route, because the hard route, you've got to be really accurate in golf to get through that little hole. I went the easy route and got par pretty much every time, and I was happy with that. Middle of the road, nice and stable. But Joel every time went, I'm going to go the hard route because I might get a hole in one. And on quite a few occasions, he did. I still bit him by a few, but on many occasions, in some circumstances, some instances, him taking the riskier option paid off, and he got a hole in one. And he'd probably done better than if he would have gone the easy route every single time. And so, I'm more of a play it safe kind of dude in the crazy golf world, but he was just like every single time, let's play the risky, hard, difficult route. Hard route every time, I might get a hole in one. But I think whether you're like me and Joel, and I'm more risk-seeking than risk-averse too, just not in crazy golf. My opinion is this, and maybe you won't agree with me, but my opinion is this, looking at my friends, looking at people in church, looking in my work life in the past, looking at my family, I think this, that most of us play it safe most of the time. Most of us play it safe most of the time. Perhaps you're sat at home and you're saying, no, I don't do that. But I think if you analyze all of your life and all of your decisions, even if you jump out of aeroplanes, or you're like the person behind the camera, Angie, we haven't got a shot of, but who swims with sharks and fights kangaroos. I don't know what she's done. So silly things that are just kills kangaroos. Apparently, if you didn't hear that at home, she ran it over with what, on purpose? You ran it over with a car? What, a shark? Kangaroo, I'm joking. So even the most risk-seeking person in lots of areas of their life that like seeking the risk, in most of the rest of their life, most people, most of the time, play it safe. Most of us play it safe most of the time. And like I said, I'm more risk-seeking than risk-averse. But I was thinking about this concept and acknowledging many areas of my life, I do play it safe. I do, and I think I want to seek risk sometimes, but I think in most areas of life, I do play it safe. I mitigate risk in the job that I do, that I have to mitigate risk constantly. And this is the way I actually, when I've analysed myself and thought about myself, I do everything I can in most areas of life to make like a safety net, whether that's financially, relationally, whatever, in church, whatever. I do everything I can to make a safety net. I plan ahead. Then, within that framework, I choose the riskiest decision that falls within my threshold of safe. It's like, these things are safe to do, but I want to do the riskiest thing of them safe things. You know, it's like abseiling with the safety line. You're not in any danger, really, but it feels dangerous. You know, and we do that so often in our life, if you're like me anyway. The riskiest safe option sounds so wild, like going sailing. But most of us play it safe most of the time. And I was thinking about this, and I asked myself this question: why do we play it safe? Why do we play it safe most of the time? And I remember when I was in college and when I was in university and studying psychology as part of my course and my degree and stuff, coming across this. You might have seen it. You won't be able to see this at home, perhaps, but you can Google it if you want. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and maybe some of you have studied this to a far higher level than me. But the bottom tier of the pyramid, you know, our needs as humans, you know, and it goes up in 5 stages. And you could argue these and debate these, but it's a good way of thinking about it, perhaps. Is that we have physiological needs. We need air, we need water, we need food, we need all them things to actually make us survive. But the second tier, Maslow would argue in psychology, is the one of safety needs. Is the feeling of being safe. When all of our immediate physiological needs are met, our next tier up that's in our human existence, that's part of our makeup, if you like, seems to be that we desire safety, that we desire some form of personal security, that we need resources, whether it's to do with resources, health or property. You know, we want to be safe. We don't want to go into dangerous environments because we want to perhaps stay alive. Anyone want to stay alive? And so we value safety. We value playing it safe because it's almost built into our psychological makeup. Even if you are seeking and like risk and like doing things that are risky or get your heart pumping, adrenaline junkie perhaps at home, but many areas of life, because it's a need of ours, we almost want and seek safety in our life. What I'm saying is it's a normal human behavior. It's a normal thing. And so fear of losing something, whether that's money, respect, resources, or your life, is a default human behavior. So we like having a safety net. And so as we open this up over the next few weeks, whether that be in church service here or online, I want us to be clear about what I'm talking about. So I want to ask the question, what do I mean by playing it safe? I've already told you what I don't mean. I'm not talking about COVID. But what do I mean by playing it safe? What do I include within that concept? And for me, it's perhaps if you're like me, it's perhaps planning ahead so far. You're planning for every single circumstance and possibility, every permutation, so that you're prepared for whatever's coming ahead. I plan ahead every eventuality. And that is, to me, actually, what I'm doing there. I'm playing it safe. I'm trying to be in control of my outcomes in my world. And I'm playing it safe in so many regards in nearly every area of my life because I've looked so far ahead. Some of you don't even know what you're having for dinner. And I look at you people, I think, I don't know how you live. But, you know, you're not playing it safe. If they haven't got it at Tesco's or Sainsbury's, there are other great supermarkets out there. But then you just don't have it. Where, you know, we plan like a month ahead, me and my wife, with that sort of stuff. Maybe for you, playing it safe, and this is included in what I'm talking about, is choosing things or making decisions in your life that make you comfortable. Whatever that is, whatever your version of comfortable is, whether it's physically or whether it's emotionally or relationally, but choosing things that always make you comfortable could be playing it safe. Or perhaps making choices in any regard with a near guaranteed outcome, where you know pretty much if I do this, this is going to happen. That's playing it safe, where you pretty much know the outcome of something. There's no or little risk involved of losing something or getting hurt in whatever area of life we're talking about. Or maybe playing it safe could be going along with a narrative that most people agree with. Not rocking the boat, whether that's in your family, at work, at church, wherever, politically, whatever it is going with the narrative that's popular or seems to be popular, that most people seem to agree with, because there's safety in numbers, isn't there? There's a feeling of safety in numbers if you don't put your head above the parapet. Sometimes playing it safe is not speaking up when perhaps you should or could. Maybe you play it safe, maybe I play it safe with decisions at work or at church or in relationships that have the fewest short-term repercussions. Because I think often we do that in life. We make a choice because I might have to deal with something now or tomorrow, where if I make a different choice, that gets pushed down the road a month, a year down the road. Perhaps we tuck it under the duvet, we put it under the bed, we bury it in the sand. That can be playing it safe or seemingly. Maybe for you, it's avoiding difficult conversations that need to be had with a boss, with a friend, with a church person, with your wife, with your husband, whatever. Maybe it's avoiding any actions that might bring you judgment, that someone might think something about you. Maybe that's playing it safe for you, that you care so much about what people think that you will do something or not do something because you're so fearful of judgment about what other people might think. That can be playing it safe. Maybe for you it's choosing paths always that don't generate any fear in you. Whatever that is within your career, in your family, that you'll never make a choice where fear comes in, where you think, I'm not comfortable, I'm a bit fearful, a bit anxious, that you won't ever go to that edge. Or maybe it's just you're overly concerned with upsetting people. Maybe that's playing it safe. You're so concerned about other people's feelings. And that's not something that I suffer with. I'm probably the other end of the spectrum. Sadly, I need to move perhaps towards centre. But maybe you're so overly concerned with other people's feelings that you'll do everything not to upset them. And maybe that's playing it safe sometimes. Maybe not trying something in case you fail. The list goes on and on and on. It's endless. And that's why I want to talk about it in this so general view, because we're all so different. I want us to think about playing it safe and all the different options in our world where we can do that. And really I want to ask you the question, because I've already said that most people play it safe most of the time. But you do have people who play it safe more so, and maybe all of the time, or maybe in the important areas that perhaps that we shouldn't. And so I want to ask you, do you play it safe? Do you at home, if you're sat there in your bed watching this or on your couch, do you play it safe? Are you someone that plays it safe most of the time? Do you play it safe? And it'd be different for different areas of your life perhaps, but maybe generally yeah, that's me. In some areas of life, playing it safe works really well, some not so much, but it could be really frustrating when you're a not play it safe person, when you're playing with a play it safe person. Like, for instance, when you're playing poker. That was a lot of P's, a lot of alliteration there. When you're playing poker and someone's playing it safe. Like, for instance, Matt over there. I play poker with Matt and a few other buddies sometimes. We just sit around. It's just a chance to eat snacks, really, isn't it? With guys who just eat snacks, don't really talk about anything. Play poker. And Matt takes ages. Honestly, he's thinking. No, he's not. He's doing the maths, and he's not that good at maths, so it takes him a long time. Of all the odds, he's doing all the odds and thinking, is this right? And it can take literally like 3 or 4 minutes to decide whether he's in or not, raising or not, giving one of them little chips that mean nothing, just this plastic chip. And he'll play it safe nearly all the time. And for the last few years, I've been like, come on, Matt, just risk it. You're not going to lose anything. You're not in Vegas, mate. And so I've noticed that the last couple of times, he's actually started not playing it safe more often. Is that right? He's not playing it safe more often. And the last time, he smashed all of us. Because he started risking a little. And he started seeing the benefits of not playing it safe all the time. Never giving him advice again. Play it safe, Matt. So let's be honest. You can't see it at home, but the people in there, who is really generally a play it safe kind of person? Nearly. Who's the opposite end of the spectrum and doesn't really play it safe a lot of the time? Yeah, okay. It's mostly safe people in here, which is funny because you've ventured out during a COVID pandemic. but they've got their double masks on. But who is a play it safe kind of person? And maybe you don't know, maybe you sat there thinking, I'm not sure, but let's see, let's do a test. Like a good test. Nice psychological test. This is a very raw test that I've just made up. Like, here we go. Think about this, and if you're at home, do this as well. What do you order when you go to a restaurant? Do you order the same thing, or if it's a different restaurant, something you know what to expect? Like my wife, for like 10 years, what do you used to have? Spaghetti bolognese. Every time, go to spaghetti. We make that at home. We have that 3 times a week at home. You go out to a restaurant where I'll be like, what should we have? I'm going to have the roast hedgehog. But maybe you'll always go with a safe option, especially if you don't go out very often, because you're like, I don't want to pay for food that I then don't enjoy, and you're balancing up that thing. You're taking the safe option. You're playing it safe. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's boring, but it's not wrong. See, I get it easy because I'll eat anything, literally even a hedgehog. And so I can order anything. Where do you go on holiday? Do you go to the same place every time, or the same sort of place so you know what to expect? Or do you go somewhere new all the time? Somewhere you haven't even Googled. Oh, we'll just throw a dart in a map and see where it ends up. Oh, we're going to the Atlantic Ocean. Or do you go to somewhere that you know speaks English because you can't do anything else other than that? And so you base your trips around that, or you stay on the site. Or do you go and explore? Maybe that will reveal to you whether you're risk averse, whether you're a playing it safe kind of person. Does the thought of starting your own business terrify you or excite you? Maybe an indicator. Do you double mask when you go out during COVID? Or do you forget your mask and have to drive back home and go and get it? Perhaps that's an indicator to you whether you're a play it safe kind of person. For you parents, do you encourage your kid to climb the slide even when they're not even 1 year old? Go on, it's all right. Go on. That's what hospitals are for. Go on. Or that's why I pay my taxes. NHS, go on. We've got to get our use out of it. Or are you the type of parent who will still be holding their hand at 5 years old up a tiny little kid's slide for 2-year-olds? It might give you an indicator if you're risk averse, if you're a play it safe kind of person or not. Do you invest your money, if you've got any, in a high risk, high yield investment? Or do you put it in a very low yield, low interest bond, but it's very safe? I don't know why I've done that voice, I'm sorry. But it'll give you an indicator of if you're a play it safe kind of person with your finance. If you're single in here, or when you were before you were married, would you approach or ask out a person who you thought was way out of your league? Or would you just stare at your feet, hoping that they notice you? Here's one. I know where my wife sits on this one. Would you let your child or spouse ride a motorbike? My wife just shouted no very loudly on the camera, and my boy shouted yes. Not happening, mate, I'm sorry. Daddy would let you, but then I would be shot. So it gives you an indicator of perhaps whether you're a play it safe kind of person. Just the last couple. You know, you're driving your car, you get to the traffic lights and they're turning yellow, and you've got just enough time, you think, to get through. Do you accelerate and get through, or do you slow down more gently than needed and wait at the lights, annoying every person behind you? Which one of them two are you? I'm not saying either of them is right or either of them is wrong, because that would be making a judgment. And lastly, with relationships, be it romantic or just friends or within church, do you feel it's better to be alone and not get hurt, or put it all on the line and risk getting hurt? It might be an indicator of, and maybe these are all different for each one of us, and some of us are risk takers in some areas, but some of these are indicators if you're a play it safe kind of person and what area of life. But to sort of round this up, do you know one place I struggle to find people who played it safe? It's in the Bible. Don't worry, I'm not doing any scriptures. I'm sneaking them in the back door. But it seems to be a place where anyone God used a lot were not play it safe kind of people. And those that did on occasion play it safe, often God was not happy with them when they did. You know, if you think about Joseph with his nice flashy coat, he didn't play it safe when he was explaining to his brothers the dream that he had. Basically saying is, I'm going to lord it over you one day. I'm better than you, even though I'm the youngest. He didn't play it safe doing that. With Moses, he didn't play it safe when he went to the most powerful man in the world and said, I'm going to take your most lucrative thing you have, which is these slaves that help you do everything you want to do. They're like your financial support. I'm going to ask you, in fact, I'm going to tell you to let those people go. He wasn't playing it safe when he done that. Joshua wasn't playing it safe when they went into the promised land and they were at Jericho and thought, you know what, first place, I'd be at the back going, should we just go round? And when I say that, I don't mean round and round and round and round and round until the walls fall down. I'm talking let's go round and go somewhere else, because that looks like an impenetrable city. Joshua didn't play it safe when he decided to try and take Jericho and penetrate an impenetrable city. Daniel didn't play it safe when he refused to pray to Darius. He didn't play it safe. That wasn't safe. In fact, he was thrown in the lion den for it. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't play it safe when they refused to worship a golden idol. That would have been playing it safe. They could have just said in their heart, I'm not really doing this, but I'm just doing it to play it safe so I don't have any repercussions. And they ended up in a furnace but didn't burn up. David didn't play it safe when Saul, his king, and he thought sort of father figure, continued to want to kill him. Yet he repeatedly put himself in danger in the firing line, literally sometimes, in the hope for reconciliation, and even in the search for doing the right thing, not the safe thing. Peter didn't play it safe when he stepped out of the boat and walked on water. You know, the list goes on and on, there's hundreds of examples. And even like with Peter, when he did play it safe, when Peter did play it safe in his environment, it was the wrong move. Jesus told him, you're going to deny me 3 times. And Peter was like, no, I'm not. I'm well hard. Oh, I'm going to stand up. And yet 3 times he denied Christ because it was the safe option, because he was terrified for his life. And we can judge him for that. But perhaps maybe we would have done the same thing in the same circumstance. He was terrified. He'd seen his Lord, been killed, hadn't received the fact that he was going to be resurrected, even though Jesus told him, I'll be back in 3 days. Don't worry about it, boys. But he played it safe rather than be persecuted, rather than be beaten and crucified like Jesus was. He said, I don't know who you're talking about. That's not me. I'm not that fella. He played it safe, and that was something he shouldn't have perhaps done. And Jesus was like, you're going to do this. It's not the right thing to do, but you're going to do it anyway. Peter didn't play it safe when he refused to eat with the Gentiles when he was around Jewish people. You might remember that if you know your Bible well, that Peter, after Christ had gone back to heaven, and Peter and Paul and everyone were building the local church, but Peter around certain people wouldn't eat with the Gentiles, the non-Jewish people, because he was, I think, fearful of their judgment about him, because in the past they had to keep separate from them. And even the Apostle Paul, who was like, Peter was the main dude. He was like the rock on which the church was going to be built. And yet the Apostle Paul comes up and says, oh, you! You're doing the wrong thing. You're playing it safe. You're scared of what other people think. And what an example, the Apostle Paul, a man who nearly on every occasion that I can read, refused to play it safe. He refused to play it safe. Even when he was not a Christian and killing Christian, when he was persecuting the church, like we heard last week through Joe, he wasn't playing it safe. He was zealous in that. He was doing everything he could to try and kill as many people as possible. But then when he was converted, just think about the difficulty of Paul confronting Peter. Imagine doing that. Imagine knowing that Peter was this dude that Jesus thought was awesome and was going to build his church through and had so much of a following. Imagine being the person who had to go and tell him he was wrong. Could you do that? What a guy, what a fella who wouldn't play it safe. Confronting people when needed. Even his friend Barnabas, when he had a Barney with him about Mark, he said he wasn't playing it safe then, even relationally. And when in front of Festus on trial, he was basically rude to him and said, send me to Caesar. Let's go all the way to the top. I want to see the big man. and decided to be sent on a journey all the way to Rome, which was dangerous, and he ended up being shipwrecked in Malta, nearly died, bitten by a snake. He never played it safe, this dude. He's preaching all around the Mediterranean, talking to the really religious people, and I mean really religious. He didn't play it safe because he risked offending them greatly, probably risked his life when he said, you know all these gods you worship, because they had them on plinths, all these different gods they worship. And there was one where it said the unknown God. You might remember this from if you've read your Bible. There's one that says the unknown God. And Paul said to all these people who are very religious, all these gods you worship, they don't exist. You're stupid. This one, the unknown God, that's the only one that does exist. And yet I actually know him. Imagine going into a place and saying that. He never played it safe. And why was he like this? I want you to think about this. Why was he like this? Why did he live a life like this? And I would argue it's because Jesus never played it safe. And for Paul, Jesus was his model. And perhaps should be ours, and perhaps should be mine, perhaps should be yours. But it seems to me that Jesus never played it safe. If anything, he seemed to lead his disciples into danger. He never played it safe. And so the question we're asking today, and perhaps you have a week to think about it for your life, or perhaps a month when we come back together, is should we play it safe? Should we play it safe? And again, I want to be really clear. I'm not talking about COVID. Take that out off the table. I don't want to get involved in that. I'm talking about for your life, the decisions you make relationally, in church, with your dreams, with the choices, the things you go after. Should we play it safe? As followers of Jesus, if you're a follower of Jesus, should you play it safe? Because if you ask the Apostle Paul, he'd answer, nope. You ask my son, the answer would be, nope. And I tend to agree with them. And that's one thing I do love about my boy, is that he doesn't play it safe. And I think in many ways I can learn a lot from my 9-year-old boy, because he's braver than me in many regards. He's got more trust than me in lots of areas. And so should we play it safe? The sensible answer is yes. But I would argue that Jesus perhaps wouldn't agree. And we'll come to that next time we get together as we discuss this series, Playing It Safe.
So that's it for part 1 of Phil's message, Playing It Safe. And as mentioned before, we have launched our very new and exciting program, Connect One-to-One. Our Connect groups are there to build and to grow each other in a group setting and to help you when you're going through hardships. But sometimes you just need that one-to-one time to discuss some of those things that you're struggling with in your life. And that is why we have now launched our Connect One-to-Ones. So if you would like any more information or would like to request this help, then head over to our website, which is libertycentre.org.uk. So next week, because it is Remembrance Day, there will be no Liberty Online, but we will see you for the week after. Bye!